Former Member of Parliament for Central Westmoreland, the PNP's Dwayne Vaz, has pleaded guilty to not complying with the rules of the Integrity Commission (IC) concerning his statutory declarations for the year 2019. The former MP appeared in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on Tuesday. Mr. Vaz explains that what he pleaded guilty to was his failure to pay the fine associated with the late filing of additional documents accompanying his statutory declarations for 2019.
Today we went to court to read the matter that was outstanding from the Integrity Commission with myself, and I put in a guilty plea with regards to the fine that was not paid. And I noticed some misinformation is in the media stating that I pled guilty for not filing my statutory declarations. The lawyers for the Integrity Commission actually confirmed in court today that I did file the declarations on the 5th of March. So it is clear that I did submit the information.
Mr. Vaz says his lawyer will be meeting with the prosecution to determine why the letter from the Integrity Commission confirming that his declarations had been duly completed was not included in the file they took to court.
What happened after pleading guilty, there were mitigating circumstances which my lawyer was explained to the court, and when he asked the prosecution for a synopsis of what happened, they still did not include the letter that I got from them on May 18th to state that the filing was declared and everything. So because of that, the judge has asked both lawyers to have some discussions, and then we can finalize the matter on the next court date.
Dwayne Vaz, former MP for Central Westmoreland. Mr. Vaz is set to return to court on June 6. General Secretary of the PNP, Dr. Dayton Campbell, says support for the party appears to have gotten stronger in the weeks since the February 26 local government elections. More in this report. Dr. Campbell was reacting to the results of a PNP-commissioned poll conducted by Don Anderson and published by the Gleaner newspaper on Tuesday, which shows the party with an almost 8 percentage point lead over the ruling JLP. The poll canvassed the views of 1,057 respondents and has a margin of error of plus or minus 3%.
So we figured that coming out of that intense period of campaigning and the credible performance of the party, where we won the popular vote nationally and we won more divisions than the governing party, that would have said to some of our supporters and others that, this is a real thing, because the election is the most accurate poll you can get. And having come out of that winning more divisions and winning the popular vote, we felt that more of our supporters would be like, well, maybe this is for real. So I think that is what is showing here, that the momentum is gathering. We used it as well to see a check coming out of the budget debate. Wanted to get a check to see where we are so we can chart our course forward.
The poll conducted between April 4 and 12 this year shows that the PNP would get the support of nearly 37% of respondents in comparison to 29% support for the JLP. Dr. Campbell says the PNP will not rest on its laurels but will continue its work to present itself as a suitable alternative to Andrew Holness's JLP. He says part of that work will see the party continue to tell Jamaicans about the leadership capacity of party president Mark Golding.
We never ever stop our work in the middle of the game. We run right through to the tape. So that is an ongoing process to present the leader to the country so that they can be aware of who he is, what he stands for, his views on things, and what he's bringing to leadership.
Dr. Campbell says the raw numbers show that Mark Golding is growing into a strong political contender.
Prime Minister Holness has led the JLP into 3 local governments, 2012, 2016, and 2024. The party under Holness polled 247 votes in 2012, 287 in 2016, and 289 in 2024. Mark Golding has led the PNP to 1 local government election, and coming out of that, the PNP polled 311,000 votes, which is more than we polled in the general election of 2020, where we polled 306,000. I think those who want to continue to have that discussion, they're having it to their own peril. Mark Golding has arrived on the big platform. He has proven himself in the local government election, and I'm happy if people continue to underestimate it. But Mark Golding is no fluke. He's here and is a real deal.
Dana Davey for Nationwide News. PNP councillor Venetia Phillips that the findings from the Don Anderson poll are part of a time-worn strategy of deception and diversion employed by the PNP. Ms. Phillips, who spent several years working with the PNP's election machinery, says she saw the strategy employed time and again by the party. Dr. Campbell has dismissed that argument.
We asked a reputable pollster in Dan Anderson, who runs market research, to conduct a poll. His methodology has been tested and proven over the years. In relation to the local government election in both December and February, he called it that it was a statistical dead heat. I believe he has been accurate in more polls than the ones that he has been inaccurate in. We continue to undergo that process. I am not aware of anything that Ms. Phillips is speaking about.
Dr. Dayton Campbell, General Secretary of the PNP. And the young professional affiliate of the PNP, the Patriots, say the recent findings from the Don Anderson poll signal a significant shift in the voting intention of Jamaicans. Norgay Banton reports.
The Patriots note that while they'll refrain from overly congratulatory remarks, they'll recognize the evolving sentiment of the Jamaican people as reflected in the poll numbers. The Patriots say in a mere 8-month period, the PNP's voter intention has surged, transcending the margin of error and solidifying the party's position as the front-runner in Jamaica's political arena. According to the Patriots, this increase in the PNP margin is indicative of a growing trust in the party's vision and plans for the future. The PNP Patriots also noted that the findings of voting intentions being even or stronger for the PNP among all demographics is encouraging. They believe the findings show that voters feel disillusioned with the current trajectory of the country. The group argued that despite purported economic gains touted by the young professional arm of the JLP, G2K, a staggering 47% of respondents believe Jamaica is heading in the wrong direction. The Patriots are contending that this sentiment underscores a profound disconnect between governmental promises and tangible progress, a gap it says the PNP is poised to bridge. Norgay Banton for Nationwide News.
A bus driver with the Jamaican Urban Transit Company, JUTC, is facing 2 charges following a confrontation with a member of the enforcement team employed by the state-owned bus company. Reports are that the driver, Kedrick Bailey, was at the wheel of a bus which plies the 97 route from Bull Bay to downtown Kingston. At about 8 a.m., the bus was stopped by JUTC enforcement officers who observed that 19 passengers on board did not have bus tickets despite having paid the driver their fares. Under the rules of the JUTC, it's a requirement for passengers to be given a ticket when they board a bus and pay their fares. This is a method used by the JUTC to protect the fare box and prevent unscrupulous drivers from pocketing the fares collected. The JUTC has been fighting a battle to prevent drivers from stealing millions of dollars per annum from the company. Bailey was informed by the enforcement team that he was in breach of the rules and that he would be sanctioned. He reportedly became boisterous and allegedly pulled a knife which he pointed at a female member of the enforcement team. Members of a police patrol team witnessed the incident and arrested Bailey. He was charged with being armed with an offensive weapon and assault at common law. He is booked to appear in court on Thursday, May 30. It's understood that Bailey will face an internal disciplinary hearing regarding the 19 ticketless passengers on board the bus at a later date. Councillor for the Belfield Division in Manchester, the PNP's Mario Mitchell, says residents in Davyton are distressed by the murder of 29-year-old CJ Cunningham. Cunningham, the 2022 recipient of the Prime Minister's Youth Award for Agriculture, was gunned down in Davyton last Friday. Mahiri Stewart has that story.
29-year-old CJ Cunningham was described by Prime Minister Andrew Holness as a promising young entrepreneur. Cunningham was the owner and CEO of Fairwood Farm, Jamaica, a quarter-acre vegetable farm. He was also a graduate of the Southwest TVET Institute, obtaining several Heart NSTA certifications. Speaking with Nationwide News, Councillor Mitchell says murders in the Davyton area are a rarity. He says Cunningham's family and the community are still in shock from his murder.
Mr. Cunningham is somebody who I've known well. I've spoken to him about his farm to see whatever assistance can be given whenever he needs help. And Mr. Cunningham has been a remarkable young man, a remarkable farmer. I was even at his property today, the farm next door to his house. I met with his mother and she was very emotional. The family are distraught and the community is very distraught. The community is embarrassed because there's been about 4 murders in that community for the last 5 years. And for they to take the life of someone who is so promising, someone who is a game changer. Mr. Cunningham has always been one that is a remarkable young man.
Mr. Mitchell described Cunningham as one of the country's best farmers, whose strawberries were in high demand up until his death.
He is not the traditional farmer that plants yam bananas or cocoa or potatoes. He plants strawberry and he plants things that are mainly grown in the United States. And he was able to perfect the art of what he was doing. His strawberries are one of the best within the whole entire parish on this side of Jamaica. And he had a lot of reach. A lot of young persons would have felt or tasted things from his farm. Strawberries, for example. I just this afternoon, his mother said to me, there have been school trips, there have been people from organizations, people from schools, education facilities, persons have visited him and visited the family, and they would have been customers. And up to this week when he was killed, he had a lot of orders out for strawberries and a number of other produce that he has.
Councillor Mitchell is encouraging anyone with information that could assist with the investigation to contact the necessary authorities.
I want to commend the police. They and I walk the communities today. We walk and we touch base with almost all the residents. We walk from house to house to reassure the citizens that we will be there to support them and we will not leave them or forsake them, and we will continue to do whatever it is to come to the root cause of why something like this is happening. The police said they are making strong leads and they are making every effort to bring the perpetrators to justice. Just by walking to the people who have said to us that this murder happened by somebody probably walking through bushes. So we're starting to hear things, and we want everybody that has information to come in. When I visited him, his mother was in tears by just seeing us walking through the gate, and the police have assured me, they have assured the family that they will not leave any stone unturned to make sure the perpetrators are brought to justice.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Veteran parliamentarian and former president of the People's National Party, Dr. Peter Phillips, is concerned about the growing divisions and lack of cooperation in Gordon House. Dr. Phillips was recently speaking on Nationwide at 5 to mark his 30th year as a Member of Parliament. In a frank admission, the MP for East Central St. Andrew admits that through his own actions over the years, he may have contributed to the tribalism plaguing the modern democratic process. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
As battle lines are being drawn for what's expected to be a hotly contested general election on the horizon, at least one MP will not be joining his fellow colleagues on the hustings. Dr. Phillips has already signaled his exit from representational politics after more than 30 years. Over that period, the East Central St. Andrew MP believes politics has grown increasingly tribalistic.
I think that the development of a much greater level of collaboration and cooperation in the parliament and to develop a consensus about some of the fundamental issues of policy between parties. I think that one failing, and to the extent that I've contributed to it, I would certainly hope that I've been able to overcome it. But one failing of our political process generally has been an excessive divisiveness, an excessive political tribalism, if you will. And I think that in fact has probably got worse over the years.
Reflecting on his own tenure, Dr. Phillips is concerned that he himself has contributed to these divisions.
Well, without doubt. I mean, because there was, but strange things. I mean, I remember, for example, there's a point at which my rhetorical invective against Mr. Siaga was so intense at one point that when I was General Secretary, that he threatened that he would withdraw cooperation with the party. I apologized, and in fact, he and I became quite close in the latter part of our respective careers.
Dr. Phillips is calling for younger parliamentarians and those with ambitions of public office not to alienate their political opponents.
Don't immediately respond negatively to ideas because they may emanate from your political opponents. And in fact, they need to seek out more dialogue, particularly in the parliament. I have found that the best work of the parliament has been done in the committees considering national issues or particular bits of legislation, to discussing the widest range of suggestions and issues and have an exchange free from the kind of political point scoring that is too frequently evident in the parliament.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
And now to regional news. Over 137,000 stayover visitors arrived in the Cayman Islands between January and March this year. That's the second highest figure for the first quarter of any year since records began. It's also a 13.4% increase over the 2023 figure. The numbers were boosted because Easter was in March this year, leading to a standout month when over 57,000 stayover guests visited the islands. This was not only 23% higher than last year, but the second highest number for a single month in Cayman's history. The total arrival count for the first 3 months of this year is at 94% of the record-breaking number in 2019. There were 243 more flights into the Cayman Islands during this period than at the same time last year. The United States remained the primary source market for the visitors at 83%, while Canada was the second largest source market at 8.3%, while 5% of arrivals came from the UK and Europe. And now to international. A New York judge has found that former U.S. President Donald Trump violated the gag order imposed upon him in his criminal hush money trial. Justice Juan Merchan announced Tuesday that he was fining Trump $9,000 $1,000 each for each violation. The order bars Trump from attacking court staff or their families, as well as witnesses and jurors. Prosecutors said Trump violated the order 10 times. Trump says the order breaches his free speech rights. Justice Merchan sided with prosecutors for all but one of the 10 alleged violations. Trump faces another hearing on Thursday over 4 other instances where prosecutors say he violated the order. Justice Merchan placed Trump under a gag order in late March and expanded it a week later after Trump attacked the judge's daughter on Truth Social. Prosecutors argued that Trump continued to willfully and flagrantly violate the order during the trial.